Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So people are annoying. And I say that because whenever a new generation vehicle comes out, we, the owners of the previous or current generation vehicle, always post videos or post things on social media bashing the next generation. You see this a lot with the new Raptor, right? With the Gen 3 Raptor, so many people are with the Gen 2s are quick to say how ugly it is and how stupid it is, right? You always get people like that. And it's annoying. And it's in our nature, right? We always like to justify our purchases, we justify our decisions. It's human nature. So we all are guilty of it to some degree. But it's annoying, and I see it all the time. There's always people, Voodoo Blue's the best color out there. Then you look at the profile picture, they have a Voodoo Blue Tacoma. You know, I mean, it's like classic. It's classic at this point, right? I mean, we always see it. So I'm going to start the video off on that point, because when you see the title of this video, I'm saying why the 22 Tundra TRD Pro, in my opinion, will be a flop. And then what are we looking at? We're looking at a 21, my 21 current generation Tundra TRD Pro. So obviously I have a bias. Let's get that out of the way. Then the second thing I want to preface the video with is I will still likely buy the 2022 or 23 Tundra TRD Pro. So I'm going to go through this list here. I'm going to talk through my thoughts on the 22, my honest thoughts, and tell you why I think, and saying it's a flop is harsh. I don't think it's going to be a total flop, but what the point I'm getting after is the current generation here will be more desired for years to come. Are people going to get excited and, you know, all wrapped around the axle about the new 22? Of course, as they should. It's the new cheese, right? And from Toyota, so it's awesome. But this old archaic beast here will remain the better one, and for these reasons here. So for starters, let's talk about why. Of course, the 22 is better. I mean, that's performance, right? I mean, the 22 is going to beat this current generation in nearly every regard. And when we're talking horsepower, it's going to be way better. We already got the numbers for it. The TRD Pro, I'm going to compare TRD Pro to TRD Pro here, okay? The TRD Pro with the iForce Max hybrid, that is a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, right? And it has that giant battery pack underneath the rear seats. Puppy dog feature. The giant 288 volt, I forget what it is, that giant battery pack that takes up all your cargo space underneath your rear seats. So 437 horsepower and 583 foot-pounds of torque. So those are pretty exceptional numbers, right? Whereas with this generation, this old 5.7 liter V8 is pushing 381 horsepower and 401 foot-pounds of torque. So kind of, I mean, they were great for the year, right? And for how old it is, this is really good still. But a lower displacement engine is cranking out quite a bit more horsepower and torque, which is pretty wild and pretty impressive, right? When it comes to towing capacity, this current generation is, you know, under 10,000 pounds is what it tows, just under, whereas that new one will be right at 12,000 pounds. Payload, we're talking, I think 1,600-ish pounds, or a little bit more with this one here, and then just over 1,900 pounds with that new one. Fuel economy, we don't know that yet, but we know for a fact that Toyota made the transition to that 3.5 liter V6 hybrid for that reason primarily, right? Because of all the emission standards and requirements coming forward, especially with, you know, the current administration. They're really pushing that for, you know, trying to get closer and closer to zero emissions by 2030, right? So we hear a lot of that in the news. I won't make this political, but we hear a lot of that stuff coming up, right? And because of that, vehicle manufacturers is forcing their hand. They have to go smaller displacement, turbocharge. I mean, they have to do that to maximize performance and maximize fuel economy moving forward, which is always good. Fuel economy is always a great thing. You won't bash that. But at what cost? At what cost are we doing that? So that is why I think my number one reason it's going to be a flop is that power plant. We have overcomplicated the Toyota Tundra with this upcoming generation, the 22. We have this very complex 3.5 liter V6, twin turbo V6. Whenever you turbocharge anything, let alone twin turbocharge it, you are complicating that engine. Is it going to work just fine within warranty? Absolutely. So most people who buy it, they're going to love it to death. But is that really the recipe for longevity? The answer is no. And any mechanic, any technician will tell you that. I'm not going to pretend to be one, but my brother is. So in this old archaic 5.7 liter V8, although it is very thirsty, we're talking 14, 15 miles per gallon on a good day with a tailwind, you will never put this thing in a shop. Very rarely have I heard any kind of testimonial where they're putting their Tundra, their current generation Tundra, in the shop for a reason. Right? So you just never have to worry about that with this current gen. With that 3.5, I'd be very leery about that. If you're the type who is not like me and you buy a vehicle to drive it till the wheels fall off, which everybody claims to be that person for the record, if you do that and you're trying to put 250,000 miles, 500,000 miles on the rig before getting rid of it, I would be nervous. I would be nervous about that 22. Because that is not a recipe for longevity. All right, the same with the 10-speed. A lot of unknowns, a lot more gear synchros, right? There's a lot more things that can break with that. And that kind of goes into my next point. So number 2 is the tech. So although the tech is super swanky, it's awesome, it's exciting, got that 14-inch screen, that pano roof, sunroof, these are all things that are going to likely break, especially within the first year. We'll talk more about that. But all that additional tech, although really cool and awesome and exciting, tech does not age well. I mean, think about the most tech swanky vehicle from 1999 that you can even think of. Probably some sort of Porsche, right? I mean, if you think about it, or some Cadillac, if you look at it now, you would probably want to throw up in your mouth. And that's going to be the case with the Tundra too. I mean, we can't escape that. It's just how it is. Whereas this here, this 14-year-old beast here, it never had a lot of tech. It never had a lot of tech from the beginning. Even back in 07, when you looked at it, you're like, okay, well, that's kind of basic, but cool, true to Toyota form. And a lot of people still gravitated to it, even back then. And Toyota hasn't made many additions or changes to this thing, right? And that is for good reason. Simplicity ages well. And, well, we're looking at 2021 here, and although it looks very similar to the 2014 little minor refresh, it still works, right? It's nothing that screams 2014 when it comes to tech on the inside. You got a screen that will, you need a screen of some sort, but even like the analog gauges and stuff within the interior here, it will continue to age well. And that 2022 does not have the tech that will age well, in my opinion. But again, for most people, that's not going to be a major concern, because most people will own it for just a few years anyway, right? Next up, number 3. So too many options. In my opinion, the Tundra has been so successful over the years, or I should say Toyota at large, because they don't change, right? And I'm kind of piggybacking on that last point, but this number 3 is just too many options on the 22. You can spec, I'm talking Tundra at large, but you can spec like 3 different suspensions on it. You get the iForce 3.5 twin turbo. You get the iForce Max, which has that hybrid, the battery attached to it. You have, you get the pano roof that you spec it with. You got the multi-terrain select. All goodness, but it's just a lot at this point, and there's going to be differences among all the variations at this point. Whereas I think this particular Tundra, this generation, has been so successful because it has been cookie cutter, and that has been true to Toyota form over the years. Very little variations between the trim models, if any at all, really, right? I mean, besides color of the vehicle. And I think that has served it very well when it comes to resale. Like when you see a Tundra for sale, you know exactly what you're getting without digging into, wait a minute, is this the LTZ package, or is it LT package with the leather interior? Like, you don't have to think about that, and I think that's been a good thing. And honestly, when you think about, this is kind of piggybacking on my last point too a little bit, when you think throughout history, the vehicles that have been sustaining the top dollar residual value, it is always the vehicles that are most simplistic, right? I mean, I always think about, and you guys might hate this, but I always kind of refer back to the 2004 to 2007 Subaru WRX STIs. Those are the most sought after, arguably, right? And that is because they're the most raw, they're the most simplistic. There's not a lot going on, right? I mean, got the featherweight door panels that are just super cheap, right? Even back then, you're like, oh, this is really cheap, but it's true to the rally form and rally heritage for that vehicle in particular. And that's not just for a rally vehicle. I mean, think about other vehicles too, Porsches, even classic 911s. Less is more, oftentimes, and it ages so well. So anyways, just one example there, but I'm sure you guys can think of plenty others who fit that same bill. Number 4. So far we have number 1 being the power plant with the V6, twin turbo V6, 10-speed. The second being the tech will not age so well, less is more. Number 3 is too many options, and we've distanced ourselves from what made Toyota great throughout the years. Number 4, I think, this is a small one, but it was worthwhile putting in here because I think a lot of people gravitated to this generation Tundra because of this right here, this giant rear cabin space. And I'll open it up, do a little reminder for folks. I guess it should be unlocked then. Excuse the dad life. But this is exceptional, and that's with my wife's chair pulled back plenty, so she has plenty of leg room up there. Of course I do too, and there's so much room back here, and this is absolutely, I think, even by a long shot, more spacious than that 22. Every video I've seen of it, their knees are kind of close to the back seat here. And I mean, just looking at the side of the cabin, you can just tell that this is substantially larger. I'd argue by like 6 inches just by looking at it. Don't quote me on that, but this is exceptional. Not to mention, because the other one has that giant battery pack underneath this this seat here, getting rid of the cargo space that's underneath here normally, right? When you pop that up, it makes you sit a little bit higher by the looks of it, right? And they even have an additional cutout up here, a little deeper cutout up there for your headroom, which is nice. But the fact that they had to do that is an indicator that there is less room in here, less headroom for folks. So, number 4 reason, that cabin space is hindered. So again, that was a small reason, I get that, but I still think it's worth mentioning for a lot of Tundra owners. Not to mention, I mean, kind of back to the last point, or the second point there, the tech will not age well. Do you guys truly think that giant battery underneath that rear seat there, like, is that's supposed to go for 500,000 miles? That's supposed to do that? That's supposed to be the 1,000,000-mile Tundra with a giant battery pack? I'll tell you what, in that garage there, I have so many lithium batteries, tools, they say they last forever, but, well, I'm like 3 years into it and it's garbage. And they don't hold a charge, blah, blah, blah. So I have a reluctance in trusting battery and hybrid stuff right now, and I imagine I'm not alone on that. You let me know. And the final point here, like every new generation vehicle, the first year is never a really good idea to purchase. That goes with everything, not just Toyota, anything. If anyone's going to get it right first year, right out of the gate, it is always Toyota. I think they have the best track record of that, but even they have always had some sort of kinks and bugs to work out after that first model year of a new generation. So another reason to not get the 22, but perhaps aim at the 23 or 24, right? Let them iron out those details that need ironing, and go forward with that. So tell me what you guys think. Am I way too left field with this? I think the 22, it looks good. It looks phenomenal. The TRD Pro does. When I saw the maroon one, the red one that was leaked, the photos, the original ones that we talked about, I thought that looked like a hot bag of trash. And I think just like the front grille, all with the exception of the TRD Pro model, kind of the 1794 looks good, I think. I like the color of it too with the black wheels. I just think the grille is over the top, not quite BMW over the top, but it's just huge, right? And I think it's just too much. It's trying to be something that it's not at this point, whereas that's not the case with this current gen. There's no gimmicks. There's no side button on the tail light to release your tailgate. There's nothing gimmicky about this. But you could argue there's nothing exciting about it either. I guess, there is always going to be something exciting about this, and that's that glorious TRD catback exhaust, dual catback exhaust that you get and you find on this one. Whereas you do have the single exit, well, it's still dual, but single exit side on the TRD Pro there on driver's side. But it will not sound anything like this, and we will miss this. People will miss this for sure. just like people miss that Gen 1 Raptor, right? But you got the panel roof, the twin turbos, battery pack, 14-inch infotainment, the center stack gauge clusters, sweet, Toyota Safety Sense 2.5. I mean, these are all amazing things that are going to be perfect, I'm sure, for a few years. But once, you know, age starts hitting it, that's when I wonder. That's when I wonder when it's going to be, how long will it last, and how long will it be? Will it be the $500,000? I won't beat a dead horse here, but at any rate, guys, I really appreciate the simplicity of this current generation. I know a lot of people who buy the Tundra tend to be that type of person that really appreciates simplicity. The 22 makes strides to do that. You could tell they got the volume knob still in there. The climate controls are hard button, push button, not integrated within the infotainment. So they made efforts for sure. So I don't want you guys to totally take this as a bashing video, because like I said at the beginning, I will likely buy the 22 or 23. I'll still likely get it and try it out and see, and maybe do even comparison keeping this one. We'll see what the future holds. But at any rate, guys, those are my 5 reasons there. Let me know what your thoughts are. Am I totally left field? Appreciate you watching. Till next time.